All right, so I'm back with another What's in My Cart video. I know it seems to be a lot of these types of videos this week. It's the beginning of the month, so we got to get all of this part out of the way before we can start creating with everything. So this video is going to be for the big picture devotional release from ByTheWell4God. This is for the month of December, and like past multiple months, I've been putting together these carts. I now have two, kind of for the two different main devotionals that I work through each month, and it makes it so nice to have everything organized, easy to reach for. I even went with a little extra organization and pre-prep this month, but here is a look at the cart in its entirety so you can kind of see how I organize things in here. Of course, by the end of the month, it gets looking a little messy, but at least at the start of the month, it looks all organized. So let me head on over to my desk and we'll break apart each tier of this cart and show you what I've pulled together for the big picture release from ByTheWell4God. All right, so I'm going to change things up this month, and we're actually going to start with the bottom of the cart. This is going to give you kind of an idea of how I plan on working through this devotional kit, some of the resources I pulled together, and things like that. So we're going to get out the important part, honestly. It's the study portion. We're going to get that out of the way first, and then the things that are in my cart may make a little bit more sense as I kind of walk you through how I'm working through it. So again, this is going to be for the big picture. This is the newest release from ByTheWell4God. For the month of December, I will have the unboxing for this release linked down below for you guys. There are still kits available in the shop. This is not structured in a typical kind of Advent daily project type way, and so it's not too late to grab this and still work on it through the month of December. It's structured in their typical 14-day devotional content, so there is time to still grab it. The devotional content is looking at the big picture, the whole Bible we're going to cover in 14 days, just kind of the overarching storyline of the Bible, hitting the high points. And so this is one that you really could work through at any point in time, but really good to wrap up the end of the year and kick off before we do a bunch of devotionals next year. Good to have a good foundation. So that is the devotional content. Now, for working through it, I do all of my note-taking in a growth book. This is from Growth Roots Co. I have shown this several times. This is kind of my workhouse space. And so it does not have to be even this elaborate how I have mine set up. This can just be a place to take notes. You can use a plain notebook. I just like these because of some of the additional resources that are in here. There is like a reading checkoff list, prayer list, memory verses. I mean, just all kinds of things in here. And it's just really nice notebook. So what I do is I do kind of a dashboard element, kind of kicking off the month using some of the kit contents. I have not done this month's dashboard yet. I'm going to be doing that probably on a Reels and a Shorts video for you guys so you can see how I do that. And then I go through each and every single day of the devotional, and I take notes, but I also write out every single verse in the devotional. So what I have done before I've even pulled everything together is I've actually gone through and highlighted all the verses in the devotional. That way they kind of stand out to me, and it's easier for me to kind of put together my other resources that I'll show you here in a second. But I write out every single verse, and then I look up in my study Bible different commentary, and I may write down those commentary in here, and then maybe some commentary from other theologians that goes here as well. And then I do word studies. So there are those word flashcards for each day. There's usually at least a couple of them. And so I can go through and do a word study directly in here as well. And so that is what I've been doing for the devotionals. I didn't finish Twisted Scripture. And honestly, I kind of was like holding off on starting Overflowing in here because I hadn't started Twisted Scripture. And now we're already in December. So I decided to just, it is what it is. I didn't finish it. I at least read through the devotional. Life happens, and I want to give you permission for that to happen to you too. I think we can get kind of caught up in the perfectionism, right? We want things completely completed, all matchy-matchy, a certain way, and that's just not how life is all the time. So I went ahead and just jumped in, started the big picture. I don't usually do a whole ton of like note-taking, but the opening day did have this good breakdown, like this number system for the different sections of books throughout the Bible. So I did go ahead and take some of those notes. And then you can see I went ahead and started writing out the scripture. I make my own stickers. So that's going to kind of take us to some of the other resources here. I do have my MacArthur Study Bible. That is where I copy the verses from. I make notations of his commentary in that growth book. And yeah, it's kind of double because it is in here already, but this kind of pulls everything concisely together. So if I come back and look at it, I can see everything kind of based off the theme of that devotional. So in addition, before I get to the stickery part, I pulled this out. Now, this wasn't in the opening shots of my cart. I had meant to grab it and hadn't grabbed it in time, but this will be in the bottom as well. This is the Baker Illustrated Bible Handbook, and this just has additional like historical notes and tells you about the culture at the time and maps and businesses and just all the kind of other information that's happening at the same time during those Bible stories in the Bible. And so I thought, since we're looking at kind of a foundational study of the Bible, we're going from Genesis to Revelation, I thought this might be kind of nice to have as additional resource. It's a little bit overwhelming to use this if you're doing like reading the Bible in a year. It's a big task just to read the Bible, let alone go through and study each section of this. And so I hadn't gone all the way through it. So I thought this way, we're only going to be hitting some high point parts of the Bible. And so I thought I could go ahead and just kind of read through that as we go through. And so it's broken up by the books of the Bible and kind of gives you information, again, that's kind of going around that particular book. And so it would be helpful, just to, again, have a really good foundation. So those are the study resources at the bottom. So let me kind of talk about this little basket here. So this ends up being my basket that travels around the house with me. This is one of those Y-weave baskets from Target. And this is my basket for my growth book. So this has the stickers I've created, pens, markers, those kind of things. So I do have a video, I'll link it down below, showing how I customize the printables from ByTheWell4God. So I take the digitals, this was actually the free digitals that you get with a devotional kit, and I scaled them way, 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 way down. I printed them on clear sticker paper. And so these act as like my little icons. So anywhere that I put one of these, I usually put a MacArthur study note. And then for other theologians, I do a label. So there weren't any labels in the printables this month. So I just had different label files within Silhouette Studio. You do not have to have a die cutting machine, a Silhouette die cutting machine, to use the Silhouette program. That's the program that I show you in that video link down below. And through their store, you can buy images, cut files, but the cut files you don't have to cut. You can also print them. And so there are plenty of videos and resources online that show you how to do that. But I just had kind of a generic label shape. So I scaled those down, and then I just used the eyedropper tool to pick up some of the colors from the kit and just filled those with solid colors. Now these are on clear sticker as well, and so I use the Slick Writer pens from scrapbook.com to write on these. They can be a little bit tricky to write on that sticker paper, so that lives in my little basket there. And then I go through my flare pins and just pick out a selection of them that color coordinate with the kit. Definitely excessive. You don't need this many. You only need one, but I like to go through my notes and have a lot of color. Breaking up things by color helps it not be so overwhelming. Looking at a page of just black scribbles or blue scribbles and nothing kind of breaking up the sections is overwhelming for me. So I kind of alternate between the colors. I have a midliner, highlighter. I actually highlight every single verse that we write out in my study Bible. And so that way I can kind of keep track as I go through my study Bible, either through sermons or other Bible studies. I can see all the scripture that I have touched and studied and worked through at just a glance. And so I'm hoping, over the years, it'll be interesting to see how much my Bible gets highlighted, and what needs to still be studied. And then I just have a general pen. I like the Sharpie S gel pens. It doesn't really matter. The paper is really good quality in the growth book. And so you can use a variety of pens. Now I use the clear stickers for the titles of the books when I'm writing out the verses, but there's no numbers in these. So I use the outliner, the caffeinated outliner number stamp to do like 1 Peter, 2 Peter, things like that. And I just have the 1 and the 2 already loaded up on a block. And then I do the same. I'll have to update this with an H, but when I'm doing the word studies, I have a G and an H already loaded up, and then I can use the caffeinated numbers to stamp out the Strong's Concordance number. So again, not pretty, but it just, that's what is functional with that growth book. I'll be doing some labels again. I had done these for Twisted Scripture. I have a really fun plan for these for this month. I will be showing you in a video of some sort, either reel, short video, something. And so I'm going to do the title of each day in the devotional on these, and that will go at the top of the page in my growth book. Now, in this here, I have used the Tim Holtz, I believe it's the specimen die, has the folders, but there's a lot of file folders templates out there for you. And so I got this idea from Taryn. She had gone ahead and created 14. I think she actually has 15. I just did 14 for the days of the devotional. I just punch out the number. I did neutrals so I can use these every single month. And then I go through, and for each day, I put in the word flashcards that go for that day. If there is a journaling card that goes in that day. And then I've also gone ahead and created the verse addresses. So those verses that I'm writing out, when I did my sticker sheet, I did these as well. So I went ahead and just typed out all the addresses, and then on the printables that came with the devotional, there was the same font for, pattern. This pattern here was on the printables. And so I just dropped that in and filled the numbers. I show how to do all of that in that printable video that will be linked down below. You do have to take that printable sheet, that PDF, because it's got the alphabets and numbers on it as well. You do have to take it into a separate photo editing application and kind of crop it down to just the pattern, save it as a JPEG before you use it. That will all make sense when you watch that video if you're not familiar with that. But and then I go through and cut each one of the verse addresses that go with that particular day. So when I sit down to study, I just pull out that folder, have the devotional, have my Bible, can work through it, and I don't have to be like searching for things. It's all right here and pre-cut. I don't need to have glue sticks or anything like that. Everything is good to go. So that lives in this little basket here. And again, this is what kind of floats around the house with me is this and, my study resources. Now, as far as how I'm going to be creating this month, I kind of went back and forth trying to decide what I was going to do. And I landed on this because I have not created one of these in a long time for you guys. This is a single column journaling Bible. This particular one was given to me by ByTheWell4God at Taryn's retreat in the fall time. And it has a customizable cover. So it's kind of textured or preps that you could paint on here if you wanted to. I think I will probably just fabric cover this, keep it simple. But this one is going back old school to the beginning of my roots here, I guess, as Bible journaling. This is going to be that single column and then just a 2-inch slightly lined margin. So very, very, very small, but I wanted to challenge myself, but also be inspiring to those of you that are creating this. Not everybody's creating in an interleave Bible. Not everybody's creating in the illustrating Bible. These Bibles you can usually get a lot cheaper than those other Bibles. And so I know a lot of you have these. And so I wanted to show you, how do we use larger elements that might go over the text? How do we work with that? How do we adjust for that? And so I also want, I don't do a whole lot of like holiday themed Bible journaling. And so, I just want smaller little entries and clusters and keep it very, very simple. Like I've said, my life is freaking out of control right now, just hectic, quite frankly, awful. And so I needed to just have very, very quick, easy ways to create. And I figured this would be the way to do that. So I will try to find this and link it down below, but you could really use any single column journaling Bible if you wanted to work through one of these with me. In the bottom, I also had just threw my Dymo label maker just because it didn't live anywhere else in my cart. I figured I could use this for creating little titles or things like that. you have that small space. So I'm not going to be using any large stamps or large alphabet stickers to create titles. And so I figured I might use this for some of them. So there is a look at what's in the bottom of my cart. Everything will be linked down below. So let me go ahead and clear this off and we'll move to the top of my cart and work down that way. All right, so top of my cart is pretty standard from month to month. I did add a couple things, switch out a couple things. This is kind of where everything lives all the time, and I'm easily grabbing, and most of the items from the release live on the top. So over on the side, I just have the newest release of the stamps. That way I'm being intentional about using the new ones, and then I've pulled out that set from last year. I'm not sure if I'll be using these, but who knows? We'll see. I may jump in and do some nativity type documenting this month. So those live in the side. There's also this little tray with the die cuts and the buttons, the little pieces, things like that. I have gone ahead and pre-cut all of the borders. So I've gone ahead and cut off all the borders. This is how I like to use them. So I just sat down yesterday and did that ahead of time. This month, like I said, is crazy. And so I'm trying to do a lot of prep work ahead of time just to make it a little bit easier. And so maybe that's what you want to do when you start prepping for a kit, pulling everything together, pre-doing some things, and that way throughout the month it's not as time consuming to Bible journal. I know not everybody has the time to take hours and hours to create a page, and by doing some of these things ahead of time makes it easier and maybe not so intimidating to sit down and create a page. I don't always want to fussy cut, and so if I know that I want to use a piece and I need to fussy cut it, and then sometimes I'll just put off even creating that page because I don't want to fussy cut. So everything is already pre-cut, ready to go in one of those little porcelain trays. And then this tray kind of is always the same things. A few things get swapped out. These are those little tins from Felicity Jane. I think I found some on Amazon that I can link down below for you guys. Great for storing little things like sequins and gems and, little bits and bobs from Tim Holtz. I'm trying to use not as dimensional. You know me, I still need dimension and texture, but I'm not keeping the like bulldog clips and brads and things just because those are a little bit chunkier and I'm working in that different style Bible. So safety pins in case I want a little texture. The little mini paper clips. I know last month I said I'd show you how to tint these with alcohol inks. It didn't happen. I'm going to try to have that happen this month and show you how I do that. And then I've been getting these small bottles from By the Well. They've been doing these as like gifts for the first 300 people that order. This is Glossy Accents, Multimedia Matte. This one I got a few months ago, this one this month. And we are not part of the 300. Just so you don't think we're like taking from the 300 that are like online ready to order. The group gets these separate from you guys. Not that you were even worried about that, but just in case. I think you might be able to buy these in the small containers as well. It's just nice for in your cart, so it's not taking up a bunch of space. And that way I've got some different glues because I'm going to be playing with some different things this month. That's not everybody's cup of tea, but we'll talk about that here in a second. And then some texture paste. I grabbed Crackle. I have them in these little pots that I found at Hobby Lobby. I did not have the regular texture paste in a small pot, but I would have done the same thing. Because this is winter, there's lots of snow and snowflakes and things like that. I have some ideas for this Crackle paste. So I've got that on top there. Got some washi. I have a ton of washi and I don't use a ton of washi. So, I try to pull it out. So I'm intentional about at least using a little bit throughout the month. A lot of these are Felicity Jane. This one is a Scotch brand. And then this I know is Felicity Jane. Some I just don't even know where they come from. So it's hard for me to link them all. This one might be from Creative Retreat, possibly. But yeah, just pulling out some washies that coordinate with the kit so that I can try to use them up. And it's good. Washi is actually good for like grounding your die cuts. So if I'm going to have those little critters sitting on the bottom of my page, I'll use just a little bit of washi tape to kind of give them a ground to sit on. That way they're not floating on the page. Washi tape's really good for that. So I got a few rolls of that. I threw in a little bit of red embroidery thread, again, just having a little bit of texture. I didn't pull out, every single color. I didn't want to overwhelm myself, but I just had some red kind of laying there that needed to be used. So might add a little texture. And then I pulled these out. So I've mentioned Felicity Jane is going out of business. They have a ton of their stuff is like severely discounted. So if you had loved Felicity Jane, now is the time to order it. I no longer have an affiliate link with them because they are going out of business, but so you can just head on over and shop willy-nilly. But these were some sequins from the Cocoa collection. This was the Christmas collection a couple years ago, and they were perfect colors for this release with that teal and the red and the clear. So I pulled them out. Again, I'm not sure if they're still available in the shop, but I'm trying to use up my stash and get some things used up. I'm feeling a little overwhelmed by the stuff that I have in my office. And so I figured these would be good, maybe even a shaker pocket or just using as decorative elements on the page. And then these I got as a free gift from scrapbook.com with an order that I placed a few months ago, but they do have them that you can purchase in the shop. These are from Pink Fresh Studio, and they're the metallic pearls in gold. And so they are flat on one side and then they're like a dome shape. So really easy to glue down to the page, and there's several different sizes in there. And so just really kind of a fun way to add a pop of gold to your project. And it comes with a ton of them in that little pouch. So I'll try to have those linked down below. This little cup is kind of always, you know, where I keep pens and paintbrushes and things like that. Those are currently in my other cart. They'll move over here. But I also have my Distress crayons. I'll go over that palette here in just a second because I don't have all the colors in that palette, but I do have Neocolor 2 crayons in here as well. This color palette did come from By the Well. They're the ones that put this together. So for the Neocolor 2s, I have Scarlet, Pink, Light Olive, Toledo Brown, Prussian Blue, Olive, and Malachite Green. So because I'm working in that traditional Bible that has that thinner paper, this will be nice because these don't bleed through. So if I'm wanting kind of a watercolor look, you know, I'm not going to be using as many of my Distress products. I'll probably reach for these instead because they don't bleed through. And then I have this little brush. This is actually for Perfect Pearls, and I'll show those in the second part of the cart there, but we'll be playing with some Perfect Pearls this month. So, and then I'll add a pen and palette knife and things like that. This is new to the top of my cart. This is something I did a little bit differently, and I will be showing you the dies in the second portion, but I went ahead and pre-cut out some of the dies that I had put in. Sometimes I sit down and my die cutting machine's behind me and I have the dies in the cart next to me, but I don't want to get up and use them. So this way I've got everything ready to go and I can use them for whatever projects I'm working on this month because it's Christmas. Everything's kind of, you know, everything's going to have snowflakes and greenery, right? So I pre-cut out a whole bunch of snowflakes. I'll be showing those dies here in a second, but I cut them out of some gold and silver craft stock from Tim Holtz, and I just cut way more than I could possibly ever use, but I use snowflakes every year. So these can just go in a baggie, and I have a box of Christmas, so my Christmas supplies get kind of stored differently in my office. So these can just go in that box at the end of the month. But this way, everything's already cut out, ready to go. I've got some additional pieces, glue them down. I'm ready to go. This one has, there's some layering dies that Tim Holtz does with some poinsettias. And so I cut these just out of plain white cardstock. And then that way I can paint them, ink them, spray them, leave them white, emboss them, whatever I want. That way I'm not having to decide, you know, do I want them out of a pattern paper? Do I want them out of a solid colored paper? Doing the white, and then I can tint and color them. And I'll probably sit down and assemble the layered pieces sometime this week, but all those little layered pieces are in there. And then I just cut a bunch of the like greenery pieces, pine boughs, things like that, that I can layer up with the die cuts from the release. And again, those are already pre-cut, ready to go. I may do a Reels video showing how I color those and paint those, because once they're cut out and delicate like this, they can be a little bit tricky to paint and work with. So I think I have a trick in mind that will work for that. But these were just some little containers out of the bathroom section at Target. I think they come like a 4-pack of them. And so I just grabbed those, and they're great for storing those little die cut pieces. Last but not least on the top, should come as no surprise, it's that wood organizer from Target that I love. It's primarily going to be things from the release, so all the stickers and, you know, little bits and bobs and things like that. But I do have a few extra things in here. I have some mummy cloth from Tim Holtz. This is during the Halloween release. This may have been discontinued. I have a hard time finding this, but you could just use cheesecloth. It's basically just cheesecloth cut into strips, and then you can tint it, spray it, paint it, do whatever you want, but it's just kind of a fun texture. And then same as dies, I went ahead and pre-did some embossing. So I'll show you the embossing folders here in a minute, but I just kind of took a selection of, these are some of the colored cardstocks, craft cardstocks from Tim Holtz, some of the metallics, and then just plain white. And I kind of cut things down, you know, maybe just some scraps and remnants that I have, and then pre-embossed things again. So they're ready to go. I don't have to get up and use my machine. I can just use bits and pieces of these. I like this strip, and so I kind of had the idea of just, you know, tearing little pieces and layering it behind a die cut, just for a little bit of texture on the page, without being too dimensional. I love that one right there. So it just did kind of a selection of them. The white ones I can, you know, blend some ink onto if I want to. I can use the foundry waxes over the top if I want to. So, you know, kind of is just a good base that then I can customize for the page that I'm creating. So I went ahead and did several of those ahead of time. So those will live in the top. And then the only other thing that's not part of the release are stencils. So of course there are the stencils from the release. There's Village Rooftops and Snowstorm, but I also grabbed Snowflake from Tim Holtz. So it just has some snowflake pieces. I do think this one was sold out, but I'll link it down below just in case they've brought it back. But I didn't have as many stencils this month for the release. But like I said, everything just kind of lives in here. Super easy to grab a hold of and use. So let me go ahead and clear this off, and then we'll pull out all of the mediums, stamps, dies, and embossing folders. All right, so this is everything that's in the second tier. I did go ahead and add a new Y-Weave basket. So again, these are super nice from Target. Mine are just over in the basket section of Target, and they have a bunch of different colors, different sizes, different depths, different widths, all kinds of different sets of them. And I use them everywhere. I use them in my office, the larger ones to store all my stamps in, smaller ones in my drawers to organize things. It just makes it a little bit easier to organize within the cart instead of just having everything free floating and making a mess. So I got this one to store the stamps and dies and things like that in it. So we'll go through that here in just a second, but let's go through the mediums. Let's start with this tray here. So we'll get the color palette out of the way. Now, with Distress, like I always mention, the Distress palette that I have here is the same that I use for paints, watercolor markers, the crayons, the sprays, whatever it might be. This is the palette that I use. Again, this is the palette from ByTheWell4God that they put together. So we have Victorian Velvet, Festive Berries, Aged Mahogany, Worn Lipstick, Crushed Olive, Gathered Twigs, Evergreen Bough, Speckled Egg, and Blueprint Sketch. And so I pulled those in the Distress Oxides. Like I mentioned, I like to have the oxide ink pads and then the regular Distress spray stains, and I can kind of combine, mix, and match. These are really nice for stamping if I'm going to be stamping with them, which I do stamp with these in my growth book, and they seem to be doing okay with the lighter colors. So there's that color palette. So then I also have just a selection of spray stains. I don't think I have all of the colors here. I don't have Blueprint Sketch, and I don't have, I guess that's the only one that I didn't have in this particular color palette is Blueprint Sketch, but I have the other colors here in the sprays. And then I also threw in a couple foundry waxes, sterling and gilded, with Christmas things with the snow. I like to use silver and gold for the snowflakes, stars, things like that. So I have both of those. And then this is going to be fun to play with this month, just something a little bit different. I was cleaning my office and found found these. So first off, I have Perfect Pearls. I have them in Sunflower, the regular Perfect Pearl, and then Pewter. These are really great for adding shine and shimmer, but it's flat. So I'm going to be showing you how to use these on those labels for my growth book. I have an idea for them with the snowflake stamps, but then also for in my Bible. I just use Versamark clear sticky ink for Perfect Pearls. That seems to work the best for those. And so I've got that. And then this is flocked embossing powder. So this is like embossing, like you do the what are they? The distress glazes, and these give you like a smooth finish that you heat set. These are like chunky and flocked. These are from Martha Stewart years and years and years ago. I don't even know if they sell these particular ones anymore. I'll try to find something equivalent online, but I had them buried in my office, so I pulled out just the colors that I thought that I would use and held on to those. So this is like white with a little bit of sparkle in it. I thought this would be really good for snow. Now, I have not used these in a long time, so I can't remember. I think these have to be used with like Tim Holtz's sticky embossing powder, possibly. So I need to play with this a little bit before I show it to you on camera, but I thought this would be kind of fun to play with. So those are living in that basket there. And then this one, I only have a couple of the Distress Embossing Glazes in the color palette for this month. They don't have all the colors out yet, but I did pull out Walnut Stain and Speckled Egg. So those are there. I may pull out Rustic Wilderness also for die cuts and things like that. But I'm also going to be using paints. I don't always use the Distress paints, but I thought these would be great for coloring those white die cuts that I pre-cut out. So I gone ahead and picked those out in that color palette. And then I have that texture paste in Opaque Matte, again for snow, going through the stencil, things like that. And then Distress Glitter and Clear Rock Candy. Now this has to be used with glue or something sticky. And so that was kind of the point of having the glossy accents. So it does need to be, sorry, there's sirens. It does need to be some kind of glue or something sticky that you put the glitter on. And so I know glitter is not for everybody, but it's Christmas time. We need some glittery snow. So I've got that in there. And then I also have the Versamagic chalk inks. Again, this color palette was put out by the Well. I get questions about where that color palette is. If you go into the shop and in the listing for the devotional kit, there's several pictures towards the end of the listing in the photos that have the color swatches. So if you're looking for gelatos and some of those other products, those are in there as well. So we have Red Magic, Perfect Plumeria, Spanish Olive, Pink Petunia, Malted Mauve, Asian Blue, Tea Leaves, Oasis Green, Gingerbread, and Aspen Mist. These, again, are going to be a great option for that Bible that I'm working in because those pages are thinner. These are a chalk ink, so they don't bleed through, and they're also permanent once they're heat set. So you can watercolor over these if you want to. So these are good for stamping in that particular Bible. So there are the various mediums that I have in my cart. Now let's jump to this basket of goodness. So in the front, I have those embossing folders. Now, some of these are repeats from my other What's in My Cart video that I did this week, and I struggled to find this one here. This one here is from Tim Holtz and Sizzix. It's much older, obviously, because it's just the 2D folder. This was before I was writing the names of them on there, so there's no name on it. I searched all over the internet. I could not find this one for the life of me, so sorry. If somebody knows what this one's called, if you could leave a comment down below, that way at least I can write it on here. That would be great. But this one here, I think it's like Falling Snow. Again, I didn't write the name on it, but I did find this one online. This one is from Tim Holtz and Sizzix as well. This is just a 2D. So let me show you kind of the difference between those. So this is that snow 2D right here. So definitely a lot of texture. It may be kind of hard to see because of the camera. This might be a little bit, this one's a 2D also. So you can see there's certainly texture, right? But compared to, let's say, the 3D folder, this has like divots and variated high points. So it's not just highs and lows. The 2D is just high and low. That's it. There's no in between. Whereas the 3D has like in betweens and divots and just all kinds of goodness. So they're just different. I use both of them. Obviously, I used a variety here in this stack. This one here is a thinlit. Now they are not a thinlit, these are an impresslit. They are discontinuing these, so I'm not sure if you can still find this one with the snowflakes. These are the snowflakes that I cut out with that metallic cardstock. So it embosses and cuts it all at once. I'm not sure why they are discontinuing these because I love them. They are amazing. They're great. I don't know if they're coming out with a better option or if they're just too expensive to produce because it's got, you know, the cutting and all the plastic and whatnot. I'm not sure, but they are really great. So if I can find it, I'll link it down below. It has the 2 different sized snowflakes in there. This one here is Blossom. That is going to be this one here. I did on gold cardstock. This one is Kaleidoscope. This one is super pretty. That is this one here. And so I can go in, and because this is craft cardstock, I can actually sand the top of it and it'll reveal some of that craft, and then you can, you know, use spray stains. You could go in with distressed crayons and kind of rub it in, and it'll go into all the nooks and crannies and really bring that out. You could use a contrasting let's say I wanted to use the silver foundry wax, and that would rub over the top, and so you'd have gold and silver. I mean, there's a lot of different ways that you can take this even to the next level, but on its own, it's stunning. It's so, so pretty. So that was Kaleidoscope. Next, this is the Snowflake one. I'm not sure what the name of it is, but it'll be linked down below. I could not find this specific one, but I did find, it's like they did a second reiteration of this one, so that's what will be linked down below. But it's very, very, very similar. I think it's actually kind of oriented this way. The one that'll link down below, it has the larger star snowflake up at the top there, but really, really beautiful embossing folder. And then this one is quilted. So this one I just thought would be good, you know, kind of for those gift packages, and you know, I just like warm, cozy textures and things like that. So it's very, very subtle. So you could go in with some distress ink or something to kind of bring out the stitching detail. But it's like little quilted leather pieces with that stitch detail. So very subtle. So those are the embossing folders. And again, I just went ahead and did a whole bunch of those ahead of time, so it's easy to reach for. And then for dies, I pulled out Postal from Tim Holtz. I know these are super popular. They keep selling out. I really love the envelope. Since I'm working in that smaller Bible, I may want some additional space to tuck notes and things, so I pulled that out. This one here is Large Funky Festive. Now, I did not use the poinsettia because it doesn't really match the style of the kit. I primarily just use like the greenery from this. That way I could pair it with the die cuts. I like to have some greenery poking out. This one is Festive Bouquet. So this is what I cut out of the white cardstock in layers. And then you kind of build it up and layer it up. So I only cut this once because I can basically get like 2 pages out of these. They're pretty large. So, and they're a little fussy to put together. And so I'll paint these, do them, they're ready to go. But again, that's Festive Bouquet. This is Paper Snowflakes Mini. So these were some of those snowflakes that I cut out of the metallic cardstock. These are nice because you can use them as is, or you can kind of layer them up and build them up into like 3D snowflakes also. So lots of ways to use those. This one here is Stunning Snowflake. Now this is a 2-piece die and it's quite large. I'm not sure if I'll use this one this month, but if you're working in a larger like the Interleave Bible or something like that, it might be good for you. So you can use them individually, so as 2 separate snowflakes, but they also layer up on one another to create like a really full snowflake as well. And you can see it's very like lacy and open. These are fun to use with alcohol inks also. So if you have a bunch of alcohol ink backgrounds, I like to cut snowflakes out of those, and that's kind of a fun way to use these as well. Let's see, these are vintage labels. This one pretty much just lives in my cart all the time. It's just a really good die to have. And then simple plaid. We had this one in there from last month as well. So I figured that would be a good one in there. Okay, moving on to stamps. And I have quite a few in here. Now, unfortunately, I looked ahead of time and most of these are no longer available over at ByTheWell4God. There are a couple that are still available, but there's a lot of older stamps. Basically, I just went through and pulled out anything Christmas. You'll see most of that in here, but I did pull out the Eternal postcard because the journaling cards this month have a postcard kind of feel to them. So if you wanted to create more of these, maybe using the patterned papers if you wanted to, you could use this Eternal postcard stamp for that. Again, I didn't see that one in the shop. That's an older one. And then going along with this, I also pulled out DIY postage stamps, again, because there were just a few, postage stamp images kind of places. And so using these and then maybe using some of the smaller images from the stamps, like even the little snow-covered mushroom, maybe some of the little greeneries or florals or snowflakes, those will fit in that postage stamp, and you can create custom postage stamp to go with this release. Also creating fun little pieces for your wrapping paper. If you are wanting, again, to kind of keep everything the same this month, you're doing all your scrapbooking the same, your December daily, working through the devotional, and you don't want, 3 different paper lines, you could create little ephemera bits to go on your Christmas packages that you're wrapping. I think would be fun with these as well. So this one is still available in the shop. This one is also still available. This is my chosen portion. I liked the stamp set this month, this one here, the Noel cheer that had the cup and all the goodies in there. And so kind of going along with that, this was an older one that was kind of more fall themed, but you could kind of create, a little mixture of coffee cups. That heart probably would fit in there. The holly would fit in this one here. So just kind of going along with that theme. So there's my chosen portion. And then this one is still available as well. This is Cable Collage. This is a texture stamp that's meant to look like a sweater. We're all wearing sweaters in the winter, right? Unless you live in Florida. So there is that. I thought that would be a good texture. So these 3 are currently still available in the stamp section of ByTheWell4God. So I just link the stamp section, and then you guys just have to search the names of the stamps to find them rather than linking every single stamp. But the rest of these aren't available any longer, but I thought might be good to pull from your stash. So Build Plaid DIY. This one is 3 different stamps that you can kind of mix and match and build your own plaid. It doesn't have to be all the pieces. You can use more or less to build up your own plaid pattern. Washi Wonderland. So this is a whole bunch of different patterns just for you can create your own washi tapes. Let me grab something really quick. This is a product that I had bought. I have some ideas for it and I just haven't been able to get around to it yet, but this would be great for creating your own washi. So this is media tape from Dina Wakely. I will link this down below. It comes in 3 different widths. So obviously these ones down here would probably fit on that smaller one, but you may have to, layer them up, create your own washi. But this is, you can spray on it, you can add paints on it, so you could use this with the stamp set and create your own custom washi tape for this release. But you don't have to use this. You could also just stamp on sticker paper or even just plain paper and create little washi strips with it. So, again, I just pretty much just pulled out anything that was Christmas. This is another washi texture, blessed washi and texture. So some different washies, and you can see the difference here. The hollies are different, and then this is just more like textured elements. And then I love this buffalo plaid. I don't have it on the back, but this buffalo plaid texture is really good as well. So there's that. Again, just all the Christmas. Bethlehem. So even though it's not exactly the same style as this release, same thing with Christmas Story, you know, we're doing Christmas themed things, right? So I figured I could use these, and they're just background elements, so that works. Going along with those coffees, there is Place Your Faith. I really love this one because it's got those coffee spills, so that would pair very well with the coffee cups, right? You can really create a fun page or a card, journaling card, something like that. So Place Your Faith with the little marshmallows in there. Okay, I went through and kind of picked some winter houses. Again, these are a little different than the houses from this release, but there were a couple that were similar as well. So this is Light the Way. This is from this release, and I thought these bird houses from Home for Holidays were similar. Like, these are obviously bird houses, but this one, I mean, this could be a sun or something like that. It doesn't have to be the hole that the bird goes in. Sized very similarly to these houses, but there's also some birds in the images from the release. So if you wanted to use one of the bird die cuts, that would go with it. And then there's the little stars and snowflakes, which are good too. So there is Home for the Holidays, and then Practically Perfect. These are just some little houses that you can add some snow to. I really love this piece here with the stars on it. So there is that one. And then Christmas Row House. So, you know, very much more, you know, linear, symmetrical than the whimsical style here. But these are fun because you build them up. So yeah, so you get to add the trees and the bows and the wreaths and kind of build your own little row of houses. But you could also use these pieces maybe in that stamp, postal stamp, or using them to create your own little ephemeras like the moon, the stars, the little wreath in there, just some really cute little pieces. And then there's, of course, you know, little shutters and brick and things so you can customize them. A little piece to create snow on there. This is just a really good stamp set. So Christmas Row House. And then I have a whole bunch of like greenery. So I was thinking of these two, the Peace of God and the Wreath Shop, pretty much the Wreath Shop. We'll start with that. So this is much older. This is one of their first stamp sets, may have even been from their first Christmas. This was done by Christina Lowry. This is Adore Him. Definitely not available any longer, but has lots of greenery, holly berries that you could kind of mix and match with this set here. This one, Peace with God, has, again, some little filler pieces. And then I really love this swag with the candles. So much more delicate and, you know, just a different style than this month's kit, but no reason why you can't use it. This one too, so this was actually fall. This is my piece, and you can see it's fall colors, but this flower reminded me of this one that's in here. And so if you just change up the colors, turn these into little holly berries, do some greens and reds, maybe even some blues, you can really change this up to go along with the winter theme. This one was done by Ashley, again, one of their first stamp sets. This is one of my favorites. I love the trees that are in here, the pine cones, but I really love the snowflakes also. So I was thinking to go along with the snowflakes in here if you wanted some additional snowflakes. Of course, there's First Noel, Merry Christmas, 'Tis the Season. So if you wanted to do some Christmas creating, this is a good one to remember to pull out. Joy to the World. So these have these trees that you can build up. So a little more whimsical to go along with the style of this kit. There's also little gifts that you can build up, but then some hollyberry and ornaments, things like that. Trees of Wonder, just a bunch of different Christmas trees. Winter Peace. So of course I love the foxes in this one, but I really love all the snowflakes, again, to kind of mix and match with the snowflakes in this set here. 3 is plenty. You don't need more than that. And then this little swash here, but maybe you're wanting to do a whole snowflake background, or maybe you're wanting to create your own wrapping paper. I do that all the time. I just buy big rolls of the brown butcher paper, and then I stamp on it, paint on it, create on it to create my own wrapping paper. So you could stamp a bunch of snowflakes and create your own wrapping paper, and you could use the perfect pearls on there, would be really pretty. So that was kind of my thinking with the snowflakes. Same thing with this one. It has some good snowflakes in there, and then it's got that sleigh with the gifts. I think there is a sleigh in the images also. Then it has that fun little row of lights. This one here, Redemption Unwrapped. This is, I'm sorry, this was Messenger of the Covenant. I haven't been telling you guys the names of them. Redemption Unwrapped. So this had some ornaments, that wreath, holly berries, you know, just Christmas things, right? A present, obviously, and then some other little Christmas greenery pieces. So the style does not have to be totally spot on. I think you can kind of mix and match these. This one I think should be pretty obvious. I was thinking of the postcards, so Wonder of It All. There is that postal stamp with a little deer in there. You've got some packages, another postage stamp, so I thought that one would be good to kind of go along with that. This one here, the church, definitely a different style than the houses from this release. But, you know, you might be able to mix it and match it in there. And then there's that little swash of stars that I liked in there. Okay, and then moving on to animals. So, oh yeah, see, there was a little sleigh with gifts in here as well. So that will go along with that other stamp set. I'm trying to put them all away as this one. So you can see very, very similar in the gift box style. So you could have different sleighs there. Okay, so moving on to critters. So this is the current stamp set this month, Covenant Critters. And so this is what I had in mind when I was pulling these others. There is just the one bird in here, but there's Joyful Witness, and this has all kinds of little birds. I think this one is from last year maybe. So if you wanted some additional birds to go with those birdhouse stamps, it would work with this release. Gifts of Love has that little, what is that, a bunny? The bunny is probably more in line with this style. The deer, not quite as much, maybe a little bit. Then there's those fun lights. There's some gift boxes. So there's Gifts of Love. Winter Critters, so again, not a perfect match, but you know, I think if you squished them all in, you wouldn't even know that they're that different. So there's Winter Critters. Branch. Obviously Mabel just sheds in everything. Sorry, guys. Okay, so Branch, this is an older one from them. I love the tree that is in here, but then you've got that moose, you've got some greenery pieces, little lanterns. So there is that one. Prince of Peace. Some gift boxes. You've got that bunny rabbit in there. So you guys, I mean, there was even more Christmas winter ones that I could have pulled out. I didn't pull them all out. But Noel, this one again seemed kind of similar to the artistic style of Covenant Critters. So if you're wanting some additional critters, I like this piece here. You could create washi tape out of layering that piece there, or it's like a little bow of greenery, right, that they can sit on. That's really, really cute. So there are the ByTheWell4God stamps that I pulled. And as if that wasn't enough, I did pull a couple from Tim Holtz. So I know there really isn't this style in the release, this damask pattern, but I wanted to play around with creating my own patterns. So I love these wallpapers from Tim Holtz that have these patterns. And so I thought by stamping them in the colors that coordinate with the release, I could create some background papers and pieces to go along with this release. So there is Distress Damask and then Tapestry. Love that. So I'll try to link those down below. And then this one is way older. I don't think that they do these anymore. These are the Cling foam stamps. These are really different from clear stamps. They are made out of foam, but you could probably use craft foam and make your own. If I can't find these, totally broke the packaging, but if I can't find them, you might be able to use them as inspiration to make your own. So these are like thick foam stamps. They do cling to a clear stamp block, but these are nice for stamping with paint. It can be a little bit tricky stamping with paint with these because they have some delicate spaces, but these, because they're just really solid, they're great for stamping with paint. So these are Christmas, and so there are ornaments and some little greenery pieces, snowflakes. So you could go in and stamp it and then, you know, detail, add decorative pieces to those ornaments. I thought would be fun, and just fun stamping with paint. These would also be great for using with a gel press. So if you're wanting to play with a gel press, these would be great for picking up the paint off of a gel press and creating patterns that way. So there is Christmas cling foam stamps. Again, I will try to find them. Obviously, I got mine at Tuesday Mornings, so they were already probably getting discontinued when I bought them several years ago, but we'll see what I can find. So there's a look at everything that I have pulled together for the big picture release from ByTheWell4God. Again, I'll try to link everything I possibly can down below. I will have creative videos coming out very soon. I just need to get all of the organization out of the way for you guys. If you have any questions or comments, be sure to leave those down below. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, if it's helpful, inspiring. Subscribe to my channel if you're not already subscribed. And until next time, thank you so much. Bye-bye.